Okay, so we are doing our historical fiction, nonfiction themed unit on Alcatraz. So we started off with our nonfiction book, or the historical fiction, is Al Capone Does My Shirts. I'm going to give you a little kind of a brief summary on the book. It's about this little boy. He is 12, Moose. He and his family move to Alcatraz because his father gets a job as a security guard. And it kind of goes over just the things that he experiences, not only with meeting friends on Alcatraz, main one being the warden's daughter who likes to get in trouble. And then some issues with his sister, which they don't know what is wrong with her, but reading the book, it looks like something like she probably has autism. But this is back in the 30s, so kind of figuring out just, you can imagine the stipulations are on families when with children, they don't know what's wrong with them. Anyway, so just kind of what goes on. I don't want to tell you too much about the book. I would highly recommend reading it. I think anything about Alcatraz is actually very interesting, but I didn't know people lived there. It makes sense that they do, because the guards have to be there so often and be there pretty much at a moment's notice, so it's pretty neat that they do. The nonfiction book that we read was Where is Alcatraz? And it's technically a chapter book, but it's a very little chapter book. And it does talk about the families who live there, the famous inmates, and it goes through the history, why it's called Alcatraz, which has to do with pelicans, penguins, yeah, San Francisco. Anyway, pelicans, but and so forth. So it's also very interesting and a very, very easy read for it being a chapter book. And this is like a series book, so I highly recommend this. They have a bunch of series of the what is or where is type things. So that's our summary. Okay, so mine is first. Okay, so my lesson plan, I'm real excited about this. First of all, this is 6th grade, so you guys know. After the children or the students have read both the books, I want them to go, I'm going to give them one more thing to read. We're going to talk about the escape from Alcatraz. They do talk about it briefly in this book, but there is an article that came out in 1962 about the escape, actually going through it. And basically it talks about, okay, well, did they really make it through? There's 3 of them. There were 4 of them who planned it, but 3 who actually went through with it. Now, did they make it? Was it successful or was it a failure? We never know. We don't know because the guys were never found. But what I want the children to do, or what the students, I keep calling them children, what the students to do is originally I wanted them to kind of raise their hand and let me know, do they think that they did make it or did they fail? But there might be too many one way or the other, so I'm going to actually divide the class in half, and half the people using text evidence from this article only, stating that they did succeed, and tell me why they think that they succeeded. And then the other half of the classroom is going to also use text evidence from this story, or from this article, and talk about that they did fail and why. And then after they've written it's going to be an essay actually, not a story, but an essay. Once everybody's written their essay, I want them to divide the class and have them debate about it. Like try to convince the other side of why they think they're right. So and what I wanted to focus on this was, since I think all of us are doing writing, I know we were trying to focus on some other aspects, so I used vocabulary. So in writing their essay, I want them to use a thesaurus and or a dictionary and come up with really strong words. And that's going to be something as a teacher when I'm looking through the essays, once they've turned them in, that I'm going to look for. That's for you, Jen.
Okay, mine was next, and also having to do the lesson plan after we've read both books. But mine focused more on this one, and what I would do is essentially we would do I found a video on Alcatraz as well, on Teacher 2, and showed both the video, and we would reread this little section on other inmates that had been there and the most famous ones. And we would do kind of a Venn diagram to compare and contrast both sides. And then from there, I would model, and I would pull up for like Al Capone, and I would go, okay, so here is Al Capone, the most famous person. No, you can't choose this one. And I would show them a website that I found where you would research background information on him. And I also pulled in a little geography from social studies TEKS and said, okay, well, what's the geography of the land? Was it cold there? Was it hard to live there? And so on and so forth. And the students would have to go through and they would have to fill out a chart of background information that they find. And from there, so they would choose a specific person, not Al Capone, of somebody else that was famous for living there and find out information about them as well. Then from there, I would use the stages of writing, and we would go through each stage, our drafting and revise and edit and all that and everything, and write a letter to that inmate. And they would have to include information that they found for background information, so where were they from, were they Italian, are you Italian? Include stuff about you that's the same. Include stuff about geography, okay, well it's wet there and it's gross, well it's hot and dry here, it sucks here. So that kind of stuff. And then we would probably turn around and read a couple of them out loud to the group. That was great.
Mine was based on the Al Capone Does My Shirts, and one of the main protagonists of the book is Matthew Flanagan, and he goes by Moose. And so in the book he's about 12 or 13, and he's pretty understanding and he's pretty calm and laid back. But you can still see that there are times where he has a lot of tension or problems with his family, sister and mom and dad. And so I would ask them to think about a time in their life as the kids where they had a problem with their parents or siblings, and compare and contrast that relationship with Moose's relationship with his parents. And I would model for them how I would tell them when I was little, there was a time when my friends came to my house and they invited me to go roller skating, and I really wanted to go. But my brother had a test the next day, and my mom wanted me to help him study. And I didn't think it was fair that I had to stay because he had a test and I had to help him study. But even though my mom could help him out, she wanted me to do it, so I had to stay. And I would describe how I felt before and after and why I felt it wasn't fair. And so I would ask them to do that kind of thing for them. And that's basically my lesson plan.
My turn. Okay. So in my lesson plan, we would do thank you letters, and they would write a thank you letter just as that person from the book, Where Is My Shirt? So they could play the role of Moose, they could play the role of the sister, anyone in the book that impacted them and that they want to portray, and they would write a thank you letter to someone else, also in the book. So I would model that by writing a letter on behalf of, from Natalie's perspective, to her mom, thanking her for all the extraneous things that she did to make sure that she got the care that she needed. So that's
Natalie's the sister, by the way.
Yes, Natalie's his sister. Thank you.
Okay, so this will be the one that we're going to do in class, and it was mine. And so just a summary of it, I did first person narratives, so the text would be the text with the first person narratives, and that covered, there was 2 texts that it covered for that. And then I also used evidence from both books to write a first person narrative, and the students would either choose to be a child on the island or an inmate on the island, and they would write about their daily life or something that they would be doing on a Saturday afternoon. And Moose in this book, he talked a lot about what he would be doing on the island and his relationships with the other people on the island and what they could and couldn't do, what was acceptable and not acceptable, because it's not going to be the same as if you were living in a neighborhood. You can't just go anywhere you want. So I wrote this one at home, by the way. I wrote at home, and then I was going to write one with the class. So this would be my example, and then I would write one with the class, which we're going to do. And then after that, I would send them off and they would write their own. So that way they had 2 examples of modeling what I expected from them. And they could use both books, or that book has a lot more facts, obviously. And this book has a lot of daily life of a kid on the island. That book would give you more information on an inmate on the island. So that would be a good one to use if you wanted to write as if you were an inmate. So I gave them, just in case anybody needed a reminder, a first person narrative is using I or we. And I had these notes, I would have these notes, and of course we would go over first person narratives before we did any of this. And then after we read both of these books, that would be the lesson to make a first person narrative more interesting than just doing a regular boring.
regular Word on yourself. So we're gonna do this one, and they're gonna help you give me information since you didn't read the books, and then we'll just write one together. But I'll read this one to you. I said, today is my first day on the island. My dad got a job as a guard here. My mom says it's the only way we can live in a nice apartment for this price, so we had to move. As I was looking out of the apartment window, I saw a boat arrive with men who were being unloaded onto the docks. They were all shackled and cuffed so they couldn't escape from the guards. This made me curious. I wonder if there is a way to get closer so I can see who these men are. I'm not the only child living on Alcatraz. My neighbors are kids too. There's babies, teenagers, and a few kids that are my age. Maybe they will want to go on an adventure around the island with me. We can find out more about these strange men. Tonight we go to the dinner for the guards' families. I'll ask around to see who wants to go look around the island with me. So that'll just be kind of what you'll be writing. But then I don't want everyone to pick a child, like when I send them off, so I would make sure somebody picked a guard, you know, so we had some variety in the room. But yeah, we'll just write one like that together, and that'll be our lesson.
Yeah, we thought about just writing on the whiteboard, since again, as far as for us doing it as the class here, since you guys haven't read this, it's a little difficult to give you guys a sheet of paper and do it, so yeah.
So we're
You have the best handwriting, Princess. Mwah. Moose's dad was a guard, and we know that he would be gone long days, so he may leave, and I don't remember if they talked about a time when he would leave, but let's say that he left at 6 o'clock in the morning, and he may not be back until 7 o'clock at night, things like that, so we could even do something like that.
And he also would get in trouble for things that his son would do.
Oh, yeah.
So if his kids were acting out, he would have to answer to the warden for his kids' issues. So yeah.
So we can add that.
Okay, so we're a guard. So if you guys know things about Alcatraz, can you think of anything that you think a guard might do on a daily basis from when they wake up?
So remember that Alcatraz isn't just a regular prison. It's supposed to be the most secure, highest security prison. That's why they're on an island away from the world. So what do you think the guards are like on that island?
They're very strict and
Yeah.
rough.
So give us the starting point. What do you think? They're waking up in their apartment. So tell me what you think that they will be doing. Or even what they're going to be thinking, or
Great.
dreading, or
Work.
looking forward to. I'm sorry?
Great, I gotta go to work.
There you go.
All these crazy.
So do you think they want to be there? Since I wrote that my dad got a job as a guard here. My mom says it's the only way we can live in a nice apartment for this price, so we had to go. Do you think they want to work on Alcatraz?
No.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either.
No.
We can do it from that perspective.
We have to think about it's a totally isolated island.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have to take a boat to go anywhere.
So it's not like they can just leave.
Everything is shipped in, food, anything you want, you have to go take a boat across.
And the inmates
dangerous
make the
seas.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah, the inmates make the food.
And the inmates wash your clothes.
Wow. You can even visualize something.
So we get from the title of this.
Like, not necessarily regret, but like feel
Isolated.
bad that he brought his family there, or like, you know, wonder if his kids and wife is happy that they're there. That's like a
We
good
can
point.
kind of do that. We can do it maybe from the point of the father having to be there. Just
Questioning if it was the right decision.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
okay. So we started off like
So
with
should we do his first day? Just like
let's do
the kid's first day?
Yeah.
So we
So
could do
can
the
start with,
dad's.
like, the date, and then today was my first day as a guard.
We could model it just like the son, right?
True.
We
Yeah.
can model it just like his son, and
but from the dad's perspective.
but from the dad.
Okay.
So today
Okay,
is
today
my
is
first day on the
as-
island.
as a guard. You have pretty handwriting, Princess.
I need to get teachers handwriting. I do not know that.
So it's a good paying job because it's a really tough job, right?
Right.
He's doing a lot. He's alright. It's hard. He's working all day and he has to deal with inmates that are crazy.
Yes.
Like it's a dangerous job. Is that's why he's getting paid
Exactly.
well. Yeah.
Exactly. Because the guards on Alcatraz do not carry guns.
Yeah.
They have, I think they have the sticks or whatever. The guard
only
towers have
guard
Guards are
guns.
the only place that
That's
Just
it.
the guard tower.
That's it.
Wait, say that again?
The guards don't carry guns. So they go into with these top criminals and they're not carrying guns. The only people with guns are in the guard towers and they're outside of the prison. So what happens when maybe you get cornered by a couple inmates in there and you just have a stick?
I have to really watch my back because these inmates can gang up against me.
Well, I like that. Okay, so
I didn't hear what you said.
So if we model what happens here, I said my mom says it's the only way we can live in a nice apartment. So what do you think about this is the only way I can support my family in an apartment decent enough to live in? What about something like that? And do you think that his dad was the person unloading the inmates on the...
Maybe on his first day.
They were unloading the inmates on the dock. Do you think that he's the one doing it? So as I was unloading the inmates, I could see my son looking out the window, staring at all these criminals.
Very curious.
Do you think that they get training before they have to go into their first day? Just be aware of any dangers,
that's a good question because they didn't go through that over in the book.
They didn't mention any
That's a good
training.
question though. I might have to look into that. I probably will.
I mean, I guess he did say that he has a little bit, like some fear when he goes into his first day, like he wants to provide for his family. But
Yeah.
I like that, kind of what you and Swapna were saying, just to say something about the fear. But you made the choice regardless. Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Taking
his
the-
job was the only
I feel like
way
that's
to
what I would
support my
say.
family.
Yeah.
So you don't have to know.
Not the only way, the best way.
The best. She doesn't want to watch it. Or do you think that's good?
I think that's good. And then if you finish it, we can read what we wrote.
We could just write it.
Who wants to read it?
Okay. Are you recording?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we have so far before we send you guys off to write your own is today is my first day on the island. Taking this job was the best way to support my family. I am excited about the new opportunity, but I am very fearful for my life and my family's life.